another sketchbook exercise, and today we're going to be talking about color mixing and the principles of art. So the different elements of art are line, color, shape, form, value, space, and texture. Principles are a separate thing. We will get to those probably in another episode. But this is what the basic elements of art are. We are going to focus on color in this one. And one of the things that I get a lot of questions about, excuse me, that I get a lot of questions about in class are, okay, what do I do with all these whites? So we have acrylic glazing liquid, we have gesso, we have titanium white, we have zinc white. So we are going to look at the effects of all of these different whites on this phthalo blue. This is a red shade of phthalo blue. It's a fairly dark color. Golden does a nice little thing here where they have the transparency meter. So a really transparent color, like this transparent orange, you can see these black lines really well. This one, they're much harder to see. You can just slightly see them. So you can see the different level of transparency in your paint. Here's a really good one to show. You can just barely see it again. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put out different whites and mix it and kind of play with the color. Now obviously it is going to lighten this phthalo blue, but that's what we want to see when we're painting or working on kind of more finished artwork. We want to be able to see how our whites are going to affect and what look and feel we want to get with our pieces. So this is the purpose of kind of keeping a sketchbook like this, is what do we want to do? How do we want to work with our pieces? How do we want to build our layers and our colors? So we're going to put all of these down. I get this one a lot, like, what do I use acrylic glazing liquid for? So we'll hit that. I'm kind of doing them in an order here. Let me line these up so I remember which order they're in. Everything starts to just look like white on there. So this one is Amsterdam brand. I don't have a lot of zinc white, and I'll explain that in a minute, but I do have some in Amsterdam because I use my Amsterdam paint a lot for jelly printing. And I like what the zinc white does in the Amsterdam when I'm jelly printing. Put a blob of phthalo blue. So the first one we have here is titanium white, but I'm going to get a sample of just the blue. So this is straight out of the tube phthalo blue red shade, and I'm going to note that. That's what we have the pencil for. And when you're keeping your sketchbook or however you want to do your studies of color, it's good to label things because I have all these different whites and I want to remember what happens when I mix this, which is titanium white, with my phthalo blue. I want to remember the shades. I want to remember this is about an equal 50-50 mix here. A nice shade. So I'm going to mark that. That's titanium white. And we're going to do 50-50, just so I remember. Now I'm going to skip over and I'm going to do the zinc white. I'm going to actually mark down a line. So this is a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen. And we're gonna look at the difference in transparency that the titanium white and the zinc white is gonna give us. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit more of this titanium white here. There we go. Now we're gonna do a 50-50 mix of the zinc. Pick up a little more of that. I'm gonna mix a little bit so I can do the block and go over the bar. So this is about a 50-50 mix. Now, right out of the gate, we do have a little bit different shade. You can see this is a little darker. So, and you could say, oh, well, that must be the brand. And a little bit of it could be the brand, but the interesting thing about the difference between the titanium white and the zinc white is the zinc white is more transparent. So there is a difference in transparency there, and so it's not, I'm going to put this right next to this other blue so you can see it. It's not a matter of the brand as much as it is this, the titanium white, is more opaque when you mix it in. The zinc white is a more transparent white. So, and the reason this is important is if you're painting and you want to get a certain look, and you want to get your phthalo blue, and you want it to be transparent and not opaque and lighten as much, the zinc white would be a better way to go than the titanium white. So I want to mark this plus zinc white. So now we have the gesso and the acrylic glazing left. We're keeping these about 50-50 blends. Oop. Yeah, I was gonna do that. Label these on your plate so you don't get mixed up like I just did. I was like, oh, we'll just pick up that white. That was titanium white. Gesso. The gesso, a lot of people say using gesso as a paint, you don't want to do that. You can use other whites, you could use the titanium white. I like it because you do get a different level of transparency, and it's a less expensive way to go. Golden Brand is just as high of a quality of artist grade paint, and I like using gesso not only as a ground medium when I prime my canvas, but also as a paint. So there's the phthalo blue plus gesso, and these are both 50-50. And the last one is the acrylic glazing liquid. So with the name like acrylic glazing liquid, you kind of get a sense that what you're doing is you're creating a glaze, which means this is something you layer on top of other colors. It looks really white on this plate, and it is fairly white, but there is a transparency to it for sure. Pick up a good amount of that. And so you can see here, it has affected the phthalo blue the least amount, meaning the tint, because it's not a strong white, but it is making it more transparent. So it's very transparent. I'm going to go ahead and put this right next to the original phthalo blue. And you can see, as far as a color, it is really very similar. This is obviously a little bit darker because we've thinned this out, but it made it very transparent. You can see the transparency there over that blue, but it held that original color really well. So if you still want that rich phthalo blue and you don't want to affect the paint color and make it opaque, the acrylic glazing liquid is a nice choice, especially if you're looking at making your paints more transparent. I know there's a lot, especially when you're doing lots of layers. We have these fluid acrylics, and these are very transparent. You can see this quinacridone magenta is very transparent. You can get that same effect by using your traditional tube paints and mixing them, like from a color standpoint. So there is the phthalo blue plus acrylic glaze liquid, 50-50. So now I'm just going to go in here and I have just a little bit of wet paint in each of these, and I am going to just paint them next to each other. It's okay that I'm kind of picking them up as I go. I'll remix this one because that was the first one. It dried fairly quickly. And you can see that titanium white really makes a nice soft blue color there. So there is your exercise for today. We have mixing of color and the element of art, and kind of learning what the different mediums that you can mix into your colors will do and how they affect. So then if you label these and you kind of experiment in this way, you can always go back to this page when you're starting a painting. You can do this with a lot of your core colors that you use and really get a good idea of how do you use your mediums when you're using color in your work. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this sketchbook exercise, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!